Change the voices in your head, make them like you instead. Interesting line, Pink. Interesting line. Segue to funny story. A few days ago, I noticed myself doing something pretty cool, not gonna lie. I think that's how I describe it. It was something pretty cool. So I've had issues, I'll call them, issues with procrastination for basically as long as I can remember. Well, if you want a more exact time frame, probably since maybe GCSEs. And over the past year, I've been dealing with them, like finally dealing with them, because I can't get away from it now, because I've actually got to deal with them if I want to succeed in degree life. By issues, I mean I would get overwhelmed to the point where I just wouldn't do anything productive. I would, as people would like to refer to it, waste time. Although I don't particularly count it as wasted time, because people would say, oh, you're making a conscious choice to waste time. But if I think back to those times, it didn't feel like I had a choice. It felt like it was just me to do that. But then meditation kicks in and you're like, what even is me? But I've been trying to find ways to either cope with it or just flat out decondition myself from it over the past year and a half or so. And some methods have succeeded, some methods not so much. The ones that have done, I'll probably make a video on, because do you see this? This is happy Hasib, because Hasib is being very productive lately because of these methods. So I want to share them. So there's a very high chance I'll make a video on what I'm actually doing and how it's working and why I think it's working in the near future, most likely. Very vague, I know. The topic of this video is something really interesting which I noticed a few days ago. So I've been meditating twice a day now for maybe 6 or 7 days, but before that for maybe 2 weeks it was basically every day once. But that was a longer meditation. These are 5-minute meditations when I wake up. So basically the second I get out of bed, I hop back in bed and meditate. Seems counterintuitive, I know, but it works. So I've been meditating 5 minutes in the morning right after I wake up, and then 5 minutes at night just before I go to sleep, like immediately after I wake up and immediately before I go to sleep. So no phone checking afterwards or anything. Everything's done and dusted, and then I meditate and then I sleep, for reasons which I'll probably also explain in another video because it's going to be too long. Why that links into this video is because I think that's what's caused what I'm going to talk about. Okay, time to cut to the chase. What is this fun thing that happened to you, Hasib? Well, I'm glad you asked, Hasib. This fun thing that happened to me is I noticed whenever I was doing something unproductive from my perspective, say I was having a 10-minute break after university and it was overrunning to the 15 or 20 minute mark and I'm watching a YouTube video or something, or just scrolling up and down Facebook, I would get this voice popping into my head. And this voice would literally ask, hey, Hasib, what are you doing there? And then my inner monologue would reply with, nothing, just procrastinating. I know it sounds really weird. It sounds weird to me as well, because of course I'm not going to lie to myself. I feel like that would put you into a lovely spiral down to depression, which I don't fancy. But I just found it such a funny situation that whenever it happens, I can't help but smile, because it's like, wow, I'm actually talking to myself to begin with. And second of all, wow, it's actually working, because after I make myself aware that, yeah, I'm procrastinating, I stop it that instant. Which is so funny, because it's like, it's just a funny situation. I find it rather amusing. It's like there's another part of Hasib up here somewhere that's constantly watching Hasib and waiting for a moment when he isn't being productive and then being like, hey Hasib, what are you doing there? That doesn't look productive. Which is so cool to me, because where was that voice when I was 13? To be fair, it probably didn't exist at that point, because I didn't even know that I wanted to be productive when I was 13. But yeah, that's the cool thing that's been happening to me, and it happened maybe 7 times in the day yesterday, and each of those 7 times I sort of sniggered to myself and thought, fair enough, Hasib, and stopped what I was procrastinating in doing. and then just flicked on productivity mode, which is amazing if you think about it. From my perspective, that's amazing, because even 2 years ago, like, I couldn't picture that ever happening because I had such a issue with productivity for whatever reason. But that's so cool, right? I think it's cool. At the same time, I kind of understand that some people might think I'm going crazy, because isn't that like a symptom of split personality disorders or something, to have another voice in your head? But linking into playing that song at the start of the video, I thought that line was really interesting in Pink's song, because maybe from my thoughts being, I guess, unfilteredly / uncontrollably fed stuff while I was growing up, my thoughts or my subconscious mind literally didn't like me. And maybe my thoughts are starting to like me instead. Or maybe your brain is a parallel processor and one portion of it is now looking out for me in a positive light. Who knows? I just thought that was so cool though. But then I think another explanation could be maybe my subconscious mind has, in the same way or in a different way, maybe my subconscious mind has been picking up stuff as I've been growing up, assuming that everything it picks up is there to help me because of how I react to something. But when you're a kid, you don't really think about those sorts of things. But then maybe now that I realise it's happening and I'm stopping my reaction to things that I don't want to happen, it's picking up on that and thinking, Haseeb wants to be productive and knows my definition of productivity, because I guess it's a part of this, whatever this is. But maybe it's trying to help. Maybe it's always been trying to help. But now, again, maybe through the meditation or for whatever other reason, maybe I'm just growing up and it just took a bit of time to calibrate. But maybe it's now starting to merge with my conscious mind. Maybe the conscious and the subconscious are starting to, help one another, be compatible. And then that leads me to think maybe that's what happens when depression occurs. Maybe there's a complete incompatibility between the subconscious and the conscious mind, which I think sort of makes sense. Or maybe it doesn't. I don't know, just a thought. But yeah, that's what's been happening with Haseeb lately. Haseeb's been very productive and very busy with second year of uni, is why it's been 3 weeks. But I've basically been talking to myself. Exhibit A. But yeah, hopefully this productivity surge continues. I think it will. I feel like, from my standpoint, onwards and upwards, because you haven't quite failed until you stop trying. And I don't feel like I'm going to stop trying. So success is the only way forward. So yeah, if you're having productivity issues, honestly, meditate twice a day and keep it consistent. You'll find out quite a few cool things about yourself in the process, and more likely than not, it'll be worth it. Cool. I think that's it. I'm going to take a sip of water. Blessed water. Yeah, I've started blessing my water. Blessing. Interesting phrase, that. Blessing water and fruit as well, actually. That's the topic for another video. Cool beans. Let me know down in those comments below. Ooh, boy. Got that rhyming on point. If there's anything cool that's been happening in your life, because I want to know. And yeah, or anything that isn't cool that's been happening. Just anything at all, really. And yeah, keep meditating, have an open heart, and just frigging do it. Just do it, damn it. Haseeb's doing it. If Haseeb can do it, you can do it. And if you can do it, anybody can do it. So why ain't you doing it? Just friggin' do it, man. Just friggin' do it. Just do it. And yeah, I guess I'll see you very soon. Cool. Bye.